Hello and welcome to my podcast, Used to Be's Do Count, with me, Dean James. You're listening to episode number 1 of season 2. Yes, that's right guys, we've got seasons. And season 2 episode number 1 is called I Used to Be a Tradie. In this episode, I speak with Daniel Dow about his transition from being a floor layer, a very honest and reliable living, to being a Hollywood stunt performer. Thank you for listening. Now let's dive into the episode. Hey, Daniel Dow, thank you so much for joining Used to Be's Do Count. Thank you so much for joining my podcast. Yeah, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on. For anyone who doesn't know you, you are Daniel Dow. You are a Hollywood stunt performer.
Yeah, I suppose we could be Hollywood stunt performer. Yeah, I work on Hollywood films and yeah.
Absolutely. And you're my old mucker from way back in the day. I mean, way back when we used to be my best mate growing up. I mean, primary school we're talking about. And as the way we have it, you grow up, you go, different schools, colleges, whatever, but you've always been sort of there on the sideline. Social media is great for keeping in touch, and I've been super proud of what you've achieved. However, you've not always been a stunt performer. And as you know, this is Used to Be's Do Count.
Yeah.
So tell everyone what you used to be.
Okay. So, well, I've come from a trade background, and I suppose you would say I was a floor layer. So I did flooring for a good, I'd say just under 10 years, but not full time 10 years. Cause obviously, like you just mentioned, getting into stunt work and stuff like that, kind of fell into that trap of mixing the two together towards the end of it.
Yeah.
Kind of fell into that trap of working as a floor layer.
On the tools. On the tools. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's no shame in it. But to be honest with you, I don't know whether I want to do a podcast episode about tiling and engineering words.
Yeah. So we're going to be too popular.
No, we're going to focus a lot on what you're doing as a stunt performer. But in order to understand how you get into the stunt world and how that even happened, we do want to go back and understand, first of all, you sort of left school and college. How did you get into flooring? How did you get into that trade?
It's funny, my dad, growing up, he always used to have carpet shops. So my dad always did it. So it was easy for me to fall into that trap of, well, I want to do what my dad does.
Yeah.
So I kind of followed in his footsteps in a sense. It's just it was easy to me. So my dad had connections with people. And your dad was my football manager, wasn't he, at Brimstone Rovers?
He was. Yeah. So you were football as well.
And we had Adam Syra in our side, for instance, and his dad was a floor layer. And our circle of friends, a lot of their parents, dads, was in the flooring industry. So it was easy for me to just fall into that trap of flooring.
My dad was a plumber.
Yeah.
And he was a football manager.
Yeah.
Your dad was a floor layer. We had Adam Syra, who was a floor layer, and everyone was into football.
Yeah.
My dad, obviously, being a football manager, was like, Dean, you've got to come and play for the team. And I was more interested in climbing trees and doing the pirouettes. So as much as disappointment, I ended up going into dance. But you were always really into football. You were very good at it, actually. And you took to it really well. I remember that clearly. So you sort of went into floor laying as a trade, but the football carried on.
Yeah, football carried on for me. I still love football now, but I've my love of football now has gone into watching my kids play football. I still play myself, but it's just for fun, really.
Yeah.
But I did make money out of doing it at one stage, obviously playing up until I was at Southend United, and where I was going to get my YTS. I had to enroll in college. So to get into my YTS with Southend United, I had to get into a college, and because Harry Kane went to Cheapford Sixth Form, David Beckham went to Cheapford Sixth Form.
Yeah.
On the premises of the football side of it, my grades probably weren't quite good enough.
Yeah.
But on the basis of my football, the head teacher there was pretty keen to enroll me in college there. So I ended up going through college there purely on the football basis, and Southend United saying that they were going to sign me. And then 2 weeks prior to getting my YTS at Southend United, me and 5 other players were released. So it's a bit disheartening at the time. So I carried on doing the college, and I played semi-pro football up until my early 20s. So I still made a little bit of pocket money every week to go out with.
So, I mean, it's interesting. It's a really different
world. Football is a difficult world as well. And there's so many talented players that get dropped, really cutthroat.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting point to say that you went to a school that two of the most famous and most successful players in this area went to. Nevin Driver's very, very well known because first of all, David Beckham, and obviously now Harry Kane.
Yeah.
It could have been it could have been the third.
You never know. Could have, should have, would have.
It could have taken that turn.
Yeah.
You weren't good enough. It's just, you have to be in the right place at the right time sometimes. People go with other people over you sometimes, not necessarily just down to talent. It's difficult, but semi-pro happened and you were getting a bit of pocket money.
Yeah. It was just paying for our weekends. Like you'd get it was back in the day where you'd get a little brown envelope after the game and you got £100 or whatever. And it'd just pay for your Saturday night out with the boys. Do you know what I mean?
Nice.
You're not gonna earn a living off of that sort of money.
No.
But
and so your living was falling.
Yeah.
And then what was going on with the stunt stuff at that time?
So it's funny, when you just touched on sort of right place, right time. And then when I was growing up, you know as well, because obviously we used to hang around when we were younger, didn't we? After school and stuff like that. And my neighbour growing up was Gladiator TV champion, wasn't he?
Old champions as well. Did you go back twice? So the Gladiators is back, which excites me. I love that show so much.
Great.
It's such a great show. The original iteration of it.
Yeah.
Mark Mottram.
Yeah.
So tell me about Mark Mottram.
So Mark was kind of like, he was my neighbour. It's funny. He was my neighbour growing up, but he was more than my neighbour. He kind of, he was more like a big brother who lived next door to my mum and dad. And growing up, he's probably 10, 15 years older than me. But growing up, he always used to go, because he was actually, when he was doing Gladiators, he was training to be a stuntman. So he'd always be doing really cool, fun stuff. Like he'd be like, I'm going high diving at Crystal Palace. Do you want to come and jump? I was too young at the time. He'd say, do you want to come and watch? Like we're going to do diving and stuff like that. You'll see all the other divers and that. I used to yeah, cool. Like, I'll come and watch. And then got into sort of gymnastics. I got into from a young age through Mark, because he did a lot of his gladiator training in the gymnastics club that we went to. Yeah. So like, like rings, like the hang tough.
Yeah.
So like where I was only young, we'd be hanging off of him in the gym, trying to pull him off the rings and stuff like that. It's when he was doing all his training for gladiators and stuff like that. So it was great. And then you got a chance to come. Me and Dean would go on a coach, weren't we? Up to Birmingham.
That's right. It was Birmingham NEC. Now it's Sheffield Arena. Originally it was Birmingham NEC.
And we'd go and watch Mark in the live shows, weren't we? And
I remember the training that he was doing, and I was around your house quite a lot. Yeah. We hung out, like you said, after school. In his garden, he tried to create as much of the apparatus as possible.
Do you remember the story of that? So come home to take my mountain bike out one evening, like to go out on our bikes. And Mark was like, I need to get you a new bike. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, well, you remember they did the cycling thing? So he basically chopped up my mountain bike in the garden and had it welded to a frame so he could practice in his garden.
The cycling.
No, they haven't got it anymore. But it was like, a lot of people used to get stuck on it. But being Mark, this is the kind of guy he was. If you wanted to do something, he was that well driven. And that's kind of what I ended up looking up to in the end. We'll touch on that in a minute. But if he wanted to do something, he was driven in that way where, he's nicked my bike out of the garden and chopped it up, but he's made it into that thing that he needs to be good at.
Absolutely.
Gladiators,
Yeah, the focus, the commitment, the discipline. He had all of that. And he was sort of pointing that into the direction of learning stunts and going into stunts. And you were around that for a very young age.
I grew up watching him do everything, down to literally like property developing his houses, helping out after school and weekends and stuff like that.
Super inspiring.
It's led me into doing property developing myself and learning stuff from such a young age from him.
And he had something about him he was only a youngster himself really, but he had something about him.
Yeah. I think it was his early 20s when he bought the house next door to my mum and dad.
Yeah. So, which is no age at all really. When you think about what he achieved at a young age, but he was always had that mentoring. I mean, he had that mentorship. He sort of took you under his wing.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
When you started to show more interest, he was, trying to.
Yeah, he's always trying to drive me that way. But he knew I had a passion for football and stuff like that at the time.
Yeah.
But then, as I got a bit older and he realised that he thought I could do the same sort of stuff, seeing what I'd done when he was training, going trampolining, going gymnastics.
Yeah.
He's like, you know what, you could do this. Like you could get into this industry.
I always remember you a very physically active kid, but you were always really good at everything that you tried.
It's that annoying person.
It's like, I remember in Mark Starlin and he was like, just try and do a jumpward forward roll. And it was like, took me like 5 to 10 goes to even get it. And first time you were like, off the bat. I always remember that you had that in you. So with things like gymnastics and the use of your body and throwing yourself into that kind of thing, you had that as a youngster.
Yeah.
You had that fearlessness, but you also were able to take command of your body, which I'm guessing is this is about, really.
Yeah, definitely.
That happened at a young age. You were still kind of interested in football. You were still floor laying.
Yeah.
As you were floor laying sort of into your young adulthood.
Yeah.
How was the stunt stuff happening there? Was that still sort of going on?
Kind of transitioned into the sense that I didn't really know much about the film industry and in the background of film industry at this point. I kind of, up until sort of like when I got released from Southend United, up until my early 20s, I still wanted to pursue my football career. But then I got, so I was doing floor laying and, I was earning enough decent money doing floor laying and I enjoyed it. I did enjoy it, but I always in the back of my head wanted that. I'm sure like other tradesmen can relate to this as well. It's like you do something and you think like, could I, or should I have done this or should I have had a go at that? In the back of your mind, I think like, and I always wanted to do that a little bit more. I was like, I want that step up to something better. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you always sort of strive.
Yeah, not that, I love doing what I was doing at the time, but I just wanted that.
There's no shame in it. I think, it is fulfilling in a certain way. It's a very reliable job. And there's no shame in it at all. But you just had an ambition in you. You had something in you that wanted to push a little bit further. What was your first stunt job? Actual paid stunt job?
Yeah, so Mark was working on a TV show out in Ireland as I think it was one of his first stunt coordinating jobs. So progression in the stunt industry is you'll start off as a stunt performer, and then you kind of, once you're well established and you've had a really good career, you'd start sort of moving into stunt coordination. Whereas when you're at that point, you're working alongside the director and you're choosing who you want in your team to do what on the movies for anyone that doesn't kind of know.
Yeah.
So the stunt coordinator will hire stunt guys to perform stunts or double actors, anything. You'll get rigging team in to do like wire work and stuff like that for explosions and flying and all that sort of jazz. So he gave me the opportunity to go out to Ireland. It was a bit of it's called Camelot TV show. And it was a bit of a hacking and slashing kind of, Game of Thronesy style, medieval battle zone kind of TV show. And it was really, and I kind of just fell in love with, that side of, I was like, this is what, when I was doing it, I was like, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
This is what I want to do.
I mean,
this
you must have been exposed to a pretty cool environment that most people don't get access to. How old were you at the time?
So I've probably been doing stunts now for about 15 years. So I would have been in my early 20s. I reckon it was 1920, something like that, when I first did that job.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
I'm from a performance background, as you know. And the general sort of scheme of what you do is you train, you go to schools, colleges, and through graduation, you then find an agent and then they start finding you work. How was your pathway into stunt work? Similar, different? Because you were sort of training on the peripheries, right? It's not like you went to a stunt school. No. You were doing it in your spare time.
Yeah. So I'd go home from work and, when on a Monday night, I'd be playing football.
Yeah.
But that, for me, that was just like training. Do you know what I mean? And then on a Tuesday, I would go fencing, like sword fighting and stuff like that. Then I'd be doing kickboxing. Another night, I was training for my swimming test for this, like at the time, because you have to train for certain things to get qualified. So I was doing my swim test training and stuff like that. And then, weekends I'd do gymnastics every Sunday, and Thursday nights as well. Did the men's class, gymnastics class, on Sundays, and then I'd play football Saturday and Sunday. So, growing up, every night of the week and seven days a week, we were doing some sport.
It was full on, and you were doing it in your spare time because you were passionate about doing it.
Yeah.
And you were really working towards getting the skills that you needed to go into stunt work. Like you said, the swimming qualifications, the gymnastic stuff. Again, the use and command of your body in all of these different environments is kind of what you need to do that job. I went to dance college, 9 to 5 dancing, in the evenings rehearsing. That's kind of what you did. But you had to supplement your training outside of your normal job.
Yeah, because you don't get paid to train, or sort of like, it's like if you're an electrician, you have to go to college in the evening to get your qualifications, because at the end of the day, if you take a day off work to go to college, you don't get, you're self-employed. You don't get paid for having that day off. So generally, a lot of trades that want to better their profession will do evening colleges and stuff like that. So it worked on the same premises of, keeping fit and doing the stunt side of the training.
Absolutely. But it was needed. The commitment was needed. It was needed. There's a part of this that I wanted to draw attention to, that you had this neighbour, Mark, who took you under his wing and mentored you almost, and also gave you your first opportunity.
Yeah.
But it wasn't handed to you on the table. You had to work for it. You had to train for it. And you were doing all of that in your spare time. So he saw the passion, he saw the dedication, he saw the commitment, and he said, actually, I'm on this TV show at the moment. Come over and give it a go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly that. And that's kind of how it all fell into place, really. So I do owe Mark a lot because, through life, he's been a good mentor, and he's kind of put me in a place, not put me, like you say, like, you've got to have the talent. You can't just get given a role to do something and then it's like you say, it's on a plate and therefore that's it. You've got to still be good enough to carry on that profession. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But I owe everything to him in the sense that he put me in that position and he gave me those opportunities. And that's why I do the job now, because without him, I wouldn't probably even, I'd know it existed, but I wouldn't have even thought of going into that,
Absolutely. Absolutely. A big shout out to Mark. I mean, I think mentorship is what makes the world go round. It's going to make people better people. You're like
very need those people, It's like teachers at school that you bond with, and they see something in you and they take it. But it's probably harder these days now that you get that with certain teachers. But I know my son's got, I've got 3 boys, and one of my boys has got a very good relationship with his PE teacher, and he likes him a lot and he helps him more. Do you know what I mean? So I know teachers shouldn't have favourites, but they see stuff in the kids and they help drive them into what they're doing.
You're going to navigate towards other humans that you see passion, especially as a teacher.
But it definitely helps to have that in your life. And obviously not everybody has that opportunity in their life or that person in their life. So
you need to be lucky, and there is an element of luck.
And that is an element of luck in knowing the right person or being in the right place at the right time. And I'm a strong believer in fate and things happening for a reason and that sort of stuff. Do you know what I mean? Or right place, right time. And like you say, the big element of that is luck. You've got to have the talent to carry it on. Otherwise, if you're not good at what you do, you're not going to last 5 minutes in any industry.
Spot on, not in any industry at all. Luck will only take you so far.
Yeah.
Right place, right time, and luck has an element, and there is an element of fate, which I believe in as well. I'm with you there. But your talent, your dedication for the industry and for what you do has taken you this far and helped you kind of bag those jobs and keep those jobs. I mean, you're one of the regular stuntmen on some of the biggest Hollywood movies there are. So how did we get from a little show in Ireland to Hollywood? Just take me on that kind of journey.
So it's, again, it's like Mark's journey as well, because where, in my early 20s, getting these little jobs going to do, it was almost like background stunts, we're just running through fields with swords and we're going into fight routines in the background, stuff like that, because you're young and hungry for it and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden, Mark's career just went rocketed, and he started getting some big films. I'm talking massive films, Marvel movies, Disney movies. And I'd started to do that journey where I was like getting jobs with him, working on films with him. And I was working so I was still doing floor laying, because until you establish yourself in any industry, it's like you're related to it from when you did your dancing.
Absolutely.
Back in the day. To get a name for yourself, you've got to be in these positions and prove yourself when you're on set, or get given an opportunity to have a fight or double an actor. Yeah. Like, you've got to perform. And at the end of the day, like, Mark's career went crazy, and then I got given like better opportunities to do bigger stuff. And that's kind of how it all fell into place, really. It's like Mark's career going like really well
on a trajectory, and had a knock-on effect to his protege, if you like.
Would you
say that?
Yeah, 100%. Because like, we did have a really strong relationship, and he was like a brother to me growing up, and he would always help me out, like, give me opportunities that not anyone else probably got, or would have to do, work harder to get the opportunity to get there.
So some of the movies you've been in: Doctor Strange with Benedict Cumberbatch, 2 of the Star Wars movies, Star Wars Rogue One, Star Wars The Force Awakens, Enter Tomorrow, Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
You've been in Red 2 with Bruce Willis, Into the Woods. You've also been on some music sets with Coldplay.
Yeah. Yeah.
You've done Sonic.
Yeah.
Jim Carrey.
Well, legend. Yeah.
I want to hear all the stories.
Yeah.
More recently, the man of the moment, Aaron Taylor Johnson, you were on Craven the Hunter.
Yeah.
So we're talking big movies, November Rain, Pierce Brosnan. We're talking big movies here. We're talking Hollywood movies. Where to begin and even starting to sort of understand your experience with those movies. So a lot of those movies are shot here in the UK or abroad?
Both. So it's a bit of a mixture, really. Like, when you just said November Man, the Pierce Brosnan movie I did, that was my first big movie. That was my first big core movie, in a sense where I was, I got to double the lead actor in that movie, and it was out in Serbia. And it come at a time I'd split up from my ex, and Mark was going away for 3 months, and he was like, "Look, I've got this film. Like, I said, it'd be good for me to get out of the headspace I was in."
Yeah.
And so I got that opportunity, and it kind of all worked out, and I ended up literally just flying out to Serbia, and we was out there for 3 months shooting that.
Whereabouts in Serbia?
It was in the city centre.
Oh, great.
Yeah. So, we stayed at the Hyatt. Is it a Hyatt hotel there?
Yeah.
We're right in the city centre. It's like really cool, buzzing little city.
Yeah. I've been there as well. Yeah.
It was, that was an amazing experience. And I learned a hell of a lot on that movie, because before that movie, I'd been going in and out of films like, "Oh, we just need you to come and do a few days here, a few days there." But that was we call it the core team, like stunts. So if you're on the core team, you'll be on that film from like prep to filming to when it ends.
Yeah.
So like you're on that movie for the full journey. So that's the hardest circle to get into when you're in the industry, is to get into that core team world.
So if I understand, you have these stunt performers, background performers popping in and out, being booked for a day here, a day of shooting. But a core stunt team will be there from beginning to end.
Exactly,
of the shooting.
And prep as well, which is probably the most fun part, because you're concepting ideas.
Yeah.
Like if you were in your dancing world, you would be making up a dance choreography. Yeah. It's the same for us with the choreography, We're concepting ideas, and we'll shoot it. Yeah. We'll put previews together, and then put it to the director. They'll say, "Oh yeah, I love it. I hate it," or tweak this, tweak that. And that's how we come up with. We take their scripts, and our coordinators come up with the ideas of basically what they want the action to be.
And you're part of that core creative process, which is really exciting. So you did that on November Man.
Yeah.
And that was your first experience of being in this whole team.
Yeah, and doubling a lead actor, movie all the way through.
All the way
through. Bracey, his name was. Okay. He was an actor. He's an actor now, but he was fun as well, because he was young, and we'd go out drinking together after in the evenings and stuff like that. So I had that whole experience, and it was just a good timing for me. So I was single at the time, so I had that freedom to embrace it.
Something that we as consumers that watch movies don't really understand the ins and outs of the making of the movie. So when you say that you're doubling a lead actor.
Yeah.
Explain to anyone that doesn't know what that means.
So someone that's sort of lead role on a movie. So, it could be like Bruce Willis in Die Hard, for instance. He was the lead actor in that movie.
And he would have had a stunt double.
Yeah, like Jim Carrey in Sonic. Like, he's the lead in that. It's like whoever is that person taking the lead in that movie, really.
Yeah. So you were the stunt double for, what was his name again?
Luke Bracey.
Luke Bracey.
Yeah.
And it was really...
So like anything, it could be like, 'cause he didn't ride motorcycles, I did. So like anytime he was on a motorbike, it was me with the crash helmet on, like anything like, getting shot or falling down staircases, doing fight scenes, all that jazz. Like whenever it's something that the actor's not comfortable in doing or can't make look as cool as you can, then that's when they use like us.
Nice. Your education almost is kind of on the job with this as well. So how did you feel being in that environment?
All the guys that train for the UK stunt register, there's an element of you to getting the qualifications to get on there, which is amazing. And like anyone that does it, it's like hats off to them to get on there, because just for the boys that do that training side of it, it's expensive. And like you say, you have to do it in your own time. So, but then.
And do you need to be on that register in order to get on to a movie set?
Yeah. Well, if to be on the UK stunt register, you have to be on the UK stunt register, you have to do your training and qualifications for it.
Yeah.
But like you said, I kind of got grandfathered into the stunt register via Mark. That's why. So I started doing all my training and stuff like that. And I think I was two disciplines off of finishing it. Okay. And then Mark's career just went, and I was on all the movies with him. So I never ended up having to finish my qualifications. So I really did get taken under a wing and grandfathered like into the industry.
Wow.
And, so.
And then I guess like my industry and the experience that I've had, you do see the same people over and over again. And especially when you turn up to a job and you prove yourself, they want you back on another job. So this work then started snowballing, right?
Yeah.
From November Man. So talk about some of your other experiences on Hollywood movie sets. What was it like to be on Doctor Strange? I mean, we're talking big budget, Disney, Marvel Cinematic Universe, Disney owned. We're talking about Sonic again, big budget.
Yeah.
What was it like on Doctor Strange?
Doctor Strange was cool because I had, probably don't know this, but it was one of my first big film talking parts in a movie.
Nice.
So that was quite, well, I think, do you know what? It wasn't lots of lines at all. It's actually just like I had to just say to Benedict Cumberbatch in the alleyway, your watch. And then he'd be like, it was when his hands were all damaged and he's trying to get himself fixed up.
Okay.
And, he caught me down the alleyway, mugging him, in Catman. I think it was in Catman 2. It's like East End Boy and Catman 2 mugging. It's like,
we get around it.
Yeah, we get around it.
But the thing is with that is that a lot of stunt performers might not actually get lines. In movies a lot, but even to get a line is quite a big.
Oh yeah, massive. Well. It's just nice because a lot of the time stunt performers are the hidden sort of talent. Yeah. So they don't really get the recognition that they deserve sometimes because like they making other people look cool. So every now and again you get the opportunity to play a character or to say something on the TV or on the big screen. It's just nice because you get a little bit of face time. Do you know what I mean? And then
I think it's a really interesting point, and I don't know, you can maybe tell me because I'm not sure. We watch the Oscars and we watch the BAFTAs and we watch some of these awards shows that really celebrate everyone in the film industry, but we never really see recognition for stunt performers who are such a huge part of the movie.
And it is.
Does that change you?
There's talks at the moment, isn't there, the Oscars bringing out stunts, and they've been protesting against it for a while now.
Yeah.
And I really do feel that it's got to be deserved for Oscars massively because you're
talking about big action movies like Doctor Strange. You're talking about action movies like November Man.
James Bond.
Red. The action
makes a movie, right? And there's not enough recognition in my eyes. There should be Oscar categories for it 1,000,000% because you can dress someone in a movie and the dress looks beautiful and the costume is great and you can get an Oscar for that. that you can throw yourself off a building, set yourself on fire for a movie, you know what I mean? Crash cars, like crash motorbikes, do fights and not get, you know, any recognition from the Oscars for it. And it really does deserve.
Of course, that's really what sells the movie.
Yeah.
You know, if you go
it's such a massive part of films, and it always has been from back, like even back in the day when you go back to sort of like cowboy Western movies and all the old school stunts of them, like, you know, falling out of windows and taking bullet hits and falling off horses.
Yeah.
Like there's been going for years, and it's been such an integral part of the movie world.
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely. It's really what draws in the audience. It's so important. So talk to me about some of the stunts that you have done.
Involving in like crashing motorcycles.
Yeah.
I doubled Woody Harrelson on Now You See Me Too.
Oh, nice.
So that was cool.
That movie.
Yeah. So he's
Woody Harrelson, what's he like?
So do you know, it's really cool.
Yeah.
It's like, he's a proper sort of like, I don't know, he's got his ways, and he's very cool. He's very laid back. He's kind of, you know, he's a bit of a kind of like a stoner.
Yeah,
so
I mean, he strikes me as someone like that.
Yeah,
it's kind of like what you see is what you get.
Exactly.
I really like him. I like his vibe.
No, it was cool. It was really cool with me.
Yeah. I mean, you're sort of, when you're doubling for a star like that, you're not only meeting them as a person, but you're also seeing their process.
Yes.
You know, everyone has their different processes.
Yeah. I mean, he's been around for donkeys. Like, he's a well-established actor, and he was just super cool. Like, cause you do get the odd actor that can be a bit hard or awkward. And I think it's the trouble is, in the film industry, the actors get treated like royalty. When they're on set, they do get, you know, they are very well looked after. And it's like, oh, can I get you anything? And they're so pampered, let's just say. Some of
loads of runners around and running after them. It can go to their head.
Yeah. And, you know, and you see it a lot, whereas some people just say chill, nice and down to earth, and you get others that can be a little bit more, let's just say, hard work.
More thievery.
Yes.
Do you want to name drop any of the divas that only get you into trouble?
I'll name drop one person that I worked with on Red 2. You mentioned him earlier, it's Bruce Willis.
Oh, yeah.
Only because he takes me hostage. He's got me around the neck in a scene, and I get shot in the head, and I just have to do like a sort of face slam onto the ground.
Right.
But we rehearsed the scene to do that bit of the movie. You know, it's probably 10 seconds of the film.
Yeah.
But we rehearsed that scene for 2 weeks.
Wow.
And then we shot it over a period of a week. And it's probably like, I don't know, 30 seconds in the movie.
Yeah.
But that's the process of film world.
People don't realise what filmmaking is. I mean, for any film to actually be released into cinemas is like crazy, because the planning, you know, like that 10 seconds can probably take 3 months planning and maybe a week to film for like 10-second footage.
Yeah.
Sometimes, and millions of pounds as well. Millions and millions of pounds.
Time is money, definitely.
Oh, yeah. So it was around a 10-second clip.
Yeah.
Bruce Willis has got you by the neck with a gun.
Yeah, that's it.
And shoot. Okay.
Yeah, and basically...
He had a lot of interaction with him.
Yeah, I mean, I was, you know, being strangled by him for a few days on set.
What was he like?
He was just... he was a bit thievish. Like, I remember him walking in one morning with rehearsals that showed him, like, oh, this is what we're going to do, Bruce, like, blah, blah, blah. And he looked around like this. He was like, no, we're not going to do that. And we're all like, okay. And then he was like, this is what we're going to do. And then he just kind of sat there. He was like, right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to break out these handcuffs here. I'm going to hit you. I'm going to drag you down the corridor, and then you're going to get shot. And then that's what we're going to do. So, and then all of a sudden everyone's like, right, okay, yeah, cool. We'll do that. And then we've literally had 2 weeks of putting the scene together, and now we've got 10 minutes to change. To change. And that's
works with people like that as well. I wonder, the thing is, when Red 2 was being made and released, he was really established. He'd done a lot of action movies.
Yeah.
Then. Was he a producer on the movie? Maybe.
I think he was at the time. Yeah. I've only name dropped his name now because I know he retired. So I'm going to get any backlash from. So.
No, you won't get any backlash.
It was just
some people are difficult because they are wired in a certain way, and you know there are casualties along the way of creative processes. You know, that was your experience of him. It's not to say
of course. Just
a moment on set.
It wasn't like it was a bit of a killer for me because from a young age, stand up late watching Die Hard with my dad.
Yeah.
And then to finally get the opportunity to actually work with him.
Oh, they say never meet your hero.
And then become, seeing what he was really like.
Yeah.
And seeing how rude he was to people on the set and stuff like that. And then just thought,
That's difficult.
Yeah.
That's difficult.
It is difficult. Like you grow up looking at these like heroes of yours on the TV. And like you say, you meet them and then you're like, you're not really one of my heroes anymore now.
No, yeah, that's the problem, isn't it? Yeah. Never.
Like Pierce Brosnan, when we worked with him.
Yeah.
Loveliest man in the world.
Yeah.
Like, so
it's got the Irish charm, man.
Yeah, for real, he has, yeah. My son was only about 18 months old at the time.
No. Okay.
And we was out in Serbia for 3 months. So he flew over with my mum to come and see me, and my mum come onto set, and Pierce saw that, I was talking to my little boy and stuff like that. So Pierce was like, "Oh, is that your mum? And is that your son?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Tell him to come over." And obviously, like, my mum was absolutely ecstatic. She's standing there having a chat with, Pierce Brosnan. It was
to a certain demographic.
Yeah. My mum was like, "Oh my God," So he absolutely made her.
That's lovely.
And that's how nice he was. Do you know what I mean? It's like, when we finished the movie, the on-set photographer printed, because I had a scene where I was playing an assassin in it, and I had to, like a hitman.
Yeah.
And I had to shoot him at a big, like carnival.
Yeah.
And then a sniper taped me out, and I had like a big mullet wig on and all that. And, the photographer got a really cool shot of me sort of being shot by Pierce. And Pierce signed it for me at the end of the movie, like a personal message on it. And like, no one has ever done that for me, like, that's how nice he is, So you do meet some absolute gems.
What about Tom Cruise? What was he like?
Tom was actually cool. Like,
yeah,
you do see him. I've seen him on both sides of the story, where you can see him. But then again, he's a producer, so they're not only under the pressure of like getting all their lines right and stuff like that. They've got their money in the movie as well, so their passion really does come out in it. But it was cool. It's like, in between, we had some takes where we were playing like army guys doing sort of like running, sort of like call running. And we were sort of all chanting these like army songs. And then like then they'd call cut, he'd go, right, last one back. Like, and then like he'd be racing us back to number ones and stuff like that. So he kept the energy up with the guys, do you know what I mean? So
that's great. Yeah. And he's got a reputation for good and bad. But one thing that he's got a reputation for is doing his own stunts, feeling really physical, physically demanding.
Yeah.
He throws himself out. He was like that on set.
Yeah. You could, like, he did do, obviously, like, he has got a stunt double that will line stuff up for him and test everything. But he is he's so adamant on doing everything himself.
Yeah.
And he's hats off to him. He does do a lot of himself. People say, I'll bet he don't do all that himself. Like, it's probably down to his stunt doubles and stuff like that. But they'll test everything, so fair play to them. Like, he does have stunt doubles, and they do the odd bits and pieces, but generally on the whole, he likes to do everything himself. He's one of those actors that will put his foot down and be like, no, I'm doing this.
Yeah. I mean,
so make it work.
For somebody like that, he obviously finds it fun and exciting.
You've got to have that thrill for it and adrenaline, like kick.
And you've got that. You've got that naturally. Yeah. Did you always have that?
I think so. I think you knew from me growing up, stupid shit I used to do.
Yeah.
Do you remember, taking motorbikes over the forest and motorbikes, and do you remember the tractor in a tube that we had in the garden? And we used to, so that was a tractor in a tube. we used to do flips off of it.
Yeah, we used to jump
in the summer.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. And then that was a memory that kind of was,
that's just, some of the silly crap we used to do. And that's where kind of like,
What's the biggest stunt you've done? Would you say? The biggest, what's the most scary stunt?
I think the fire jobs are probably the ones that get your heart racing.
Yeah.
So for me, big stunts. So then a lot of stuff like car accidents and stuff like that. I had to, on Now You See Me Too, actually, I had to do a big motorbike ramp jump and crash the bike, like come off the bike in the air and then land on it, land on the tarmac. So it was a separate shot of me coming off the motorbike in midair and landing on crash mats and boxes.
Yeah.
But during the rehearsals of that, the motorbike landed on my arm and fractured my arm during the rehearsals.
Wow. So you were taking off on a motorbike off the ramp.
Off a ramp.
And then had to come off of the
motorbike. So I had to separate, to separate myself off the motorcycle midair.
Yeah.
And then the bike would land on empty cardboard boxes, so I didn't damage it. And I would land on boxes and then crash mats on top on one side. So, on one of the rehearsals, the bike bottomed out and the boxes flipped and landed on my arm.
Oh.
And ended up fracturing my arm. And then, so I had a fracture in my arm. And then on the day, I had to still do the stunt a few weeks later.
Yeah.
With a bad arm.
Did you do it?
Yeah. So, but then, because they wanted it to look like Woody was actually landing on the concrete as well.
Okay.
So what we had to do is we did the motorbike gag. That all went really well. I think I did it 3 times on the night, and all went really well all 3 times. And then they wanted the landing onto the tarmac, so we had to move all the boxes to one side, and then I had to run off the ramp, dive, and land on the concrete.
Because they wanted a shot.
Because they wanted the impact of the landing. So that was a cool little gag to do.
And so that sort of gives me a little bit of an insight of how these stunts are created as well. So you've obviously got a plan and a rehearsal and a coordination beforehand. And then as you're filming it, things are just changing as and when. Like, no, we want to shot this now. We want to shot that now. We'd like you to do this now. Are they asking for you to position your head and your body in certain places?
Yeah, of course. And then a lot of the time you got to try and cover yourself a little bit as well, because camera doesn't want to pick up your face, because obviously then you can see it's not the actor.
Yeah.
But I had I've got a photo I can probably show you if you wanted to add it to this in the edit. But I had a very, very good comparison to Woody. So sometimes they would actually shoot on me if it was far enough away, because they could get away with it. Because I'm really had a really similar face.
Really?
It's weird, but
and a build and stuff.
And the baldness and stuff like that as well. So
Yeah. So you see my face popping up in movies every now and again.
Yeah.
And it's nice. So you said fire was always scary.
I think that's always what that gets the adrenaline pumping the most, because when you're doing fire burns, although it's safe, and we wear, I say it's safe, but we wear fire gel, and then we have layers of underwear that go fireproof, no necks that goes underneath. And when you're doing a full fire burn, you have to wear a silicone mask, just to protect your face. And all you've got is this little straw, that comes out of the mouthpiece here. So you're pretty much blind when you do a full fire burn. You're pretty much blind.
Really? And you've just got a straw coming out when you're breathing.
Because you don't want to inhale the flames when you're on fire. So it's and then
how long could you be on fire for?
So it depends. Most fire burns, they will be quite short, because you're after sort of 20, 30 seconds. I mean, you can go longer, but you generally won't do them for much longer than sort of
that's long enough, I think.
Yeah.
That's 20, 30 seconds.
Yeah, it seems like a life.
I can imagine.
And then you just drop to your knees and fall down, and then you'll have literally, if you're doing a full fire burn, you might have 3 guys with extinguishers. Basically their role as fire safety for that stunt will be just you.
Wow.
And they're literally watching just you. But you don't, on Game of Thrones, the guys, they've done some insane fire burns where there's been multiple guys doing fire burns.
Really? So you weren't
10,
on Game
15
of Thrones,
guys. But
you know a lot
of my friends were on it, and they still are doing stuff on the new Dragon series and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But hats off to those guys, because some of the fire burns they've done on that were insane. But one guy will have maybe 2 or 3 people just literally, they're in full fireproof gear themselves, and they've got a extinguisher, and their job is to, as soon as they call cut, anyone that's on fire will drop to their knees and go to their front, and then they come over with extinguishers, and they're on you until you're out.
Oh, God, so that's risky business, isn't it?
The fire stuff is the one that really does get, no matter how many times you've done them.
Yeah,
they're the ones that really do get the heart pumping.
For one fire burn, how many times would you need to film that and do that? Would you say?
It just depends. Yeah, you could do it numerous times.
Really?
Yeah, you could do it numerous times. It just depends on how. Something could be out of focus on the camera, or someone's not ignited properly. Therefore, it's not it's ruined the shot.
Yeah.
So you'll be asked, do you mind if we do another one? But the coordinator will have that. They know what it's like. And they might say to the director, look, you've got 3 goes at this, and that's that.
Yeah.
They'll put their foot down and be like, my boys are not going to do it more than 3 times.
Nice. So the stunt coordinators
they're looking
really closely with the director and looking out for you guys.
And
that's great.
The coordinators, they're solely, they want action to look good. but they have your backs.
And give me an idea of that world of stunts, because you're a stunt performer, right? So you said already you've got the coordinator, but what other key players are there in creating and making these stunts on a Hollywood movie?
Basically, so on a core team, you'll have a head rigger, which is the person that helps generate the stunt wire work and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You'll have a fight coordinator.
Yeah.
Who will help the coordinator come up with like all the fight moves and stuff. And then you have generally the core team. So you have the stunt doubles mixed in with other stunt performers that can do stunt rigging. Like everyone's got their role. Like I'm working with such a cool team at the moment. And I'm working for Eunice. So you remember from Gladiator days? Remember her and Greg Norman were like the Gladiator champions before Mark's era.
Oh, right. Yes.
Yeah.
So they're in the stunt world as well?
Yeah, well, Eunice is really successful. She's doubled likes of Angelina Jolie.
Wow.
And stuff like that, and all the Tomb Raiders and stuff. And she's
fantastic.
She's had an exceptional career. And that's who I'm working for at the moment.
Nice.
And she's brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, she's got such a good, probably one of the best teams I've ever worked for.
If you think about the workings of a stunt, you've got the stunt riggers, you've got the coordinators, and then you've got the performers as well. And you need to have the certain skills for that stunt. So you've done wire work, bungee stuff. You spoke about some vehicles like motorbikes, cars, done horses.
Yeah, horses. Yeah. So, don't know if you remember growing up, I used to ride.
Yeah. We used to go to the same riding school as well. Yeah,
and I used to go show jumping and this, that, and the other. So and then in the end, it led to my mum and dad getting me, because we can afford our own horse. Yeah. But there was a girl at the stables had like few horses. Yeah. And they did this thing where you can have a share in the horse. Yeah. So therefore you just pay for its living costs, but you don't own it. That's it. And it's your job to basically look after it. Yeah. So I'd be down there every evening, like mucking out. Yeah. Yeah. Getting them out in the field. Do you know what I mean? So I used to love it. Like, I love horses as well. Yeah. I remember going to that riding school actually with you a couple of times at Suiston Road, right? Yeah, the Chingford one, yeah. But I was also dancing on a Saturday and my dance teacher told me to stop horse riding. Oh, really? Because it was doing the opposite of what we were trying to do for our legs. Like when you're hugging the horse with your inner thighs, you're doing the opposite of like elongating your legs. So I remember my jazz teacher saying, you know, if you really want to dance, you should probably stop horse riding. Yeah. And so I was like, well, I'm going to just choose dance. Yeah, I loved it. I ended up going into show jumping at a young age. And I don't do as much as a bit now. I think when I, the next few, I'd love to have my own horse again. At some point, because I do love it. Yeah. I do love horse riding. I just don't get the opportunity to do it. When the job comes up. Yeah, there's so many talented horse guys in the industry though. That live and breathe horse riding. Yeah. And sometimes it characterizes people. There'll be certain stunt guys that are known for being so good on a horse. There'll be certain guys that are this guy is so talented at martial arts. So he's a fight guy. This other guy is talented in cars. He's the driving guy. And sometimes you get categorized into being specialized in more things, so generally being used for the same thing all the time. Do you have it? Are you a bit jack of all trades? Yeah. So I'm not I'd say I'm not really like a specialist in anything, but I'm just one of them annoying people that can good at everything. No, I'm not saying I'm good at everything, but reliable stuff. I like to say I've got a lot of bows to the. I don't know, not strings to the bow. Absolutely. So, it's a good way to think. It's a good way to think. Yeah, the versatility is needed, and it means that you can be pulled from one job to the other and do what it takes. So specialism is good, of course. Yeah. If you're going to be the horse guy or the fire guy or whatever, but I mean, you can kind of do it all. How's your acro stuff? Yeah, so from a gymnastics basis, I'm not like I never competed in gymnastics or anything like that. So I'd say half decent, but there's a lot more talented people. Yeah, that focus on that. Yeah, so because again, like you say, it's like categorizing people. Yeah, I can generally get away with doing like smaller scale stuff. Yeah. There's a lot of people out there that are more talented than me doing sort of like high. I'll do a high fall, no problem. Yeah. But if you want someone doing like a double somersault into it, there'll be someone out there that's, do you know what I mean, a lot better than me. But I'll do it if you want me to do it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'll just have a go. Like, you mentioned the fractured arm. Yeah. Any other injuries, key injuries that you've sort of picked up doing this job? You're always getting bumps and scrapes. Always. Luckily, that's the only sort of like major. You're always, because when you fall over doing stunts, you can't put your hands down. You sort of just grit your teeth and take the spank. Do you know what I mean? So it's just like, if you're taking bullet hits, you've got to make them look gnarly.
Yeah.
So you're always coming home with scrapes and bumps and injuries, muscular mainly.
Yeah.
But like, you know, I've worked for such good coordinators that, you know, their safety is
fantastic.
Unbelievable. And especially the team I'm working with at the moment is just the best I've ever worked with, I think.
it's
Eunice's team, like, they're all amazing. They're all very talented and they're just all so good at individually at everything they do.
yeah,
Like our riggers, our fight guys, you know, our coordinators. She's got amazing people around her. And a few people, like, actually it was Mark Mottram's best friend, Dave Fisher. He works with Eunice's team as well. So I've known him from the kid. Ran up with Mark. So
they must look at you so proud as well, seeing you as a little nipper. And
it's
what
cool.
You're doing now. And,
talking back on old stories,
absolutely.
being in the gymnastics gym with them all and stuff like that.
Yeah. How do you keep in shape now? I mean, you know, we're the same age. We're 40. Like, I've let myself go a bit. You're still in prime premium shape, and you have to be because
that's the thing.
How do you stay in shape?
So we're lucky enough at the moment. I'm working at Warner Brothers at the moment on a project, and they've got an amazing gym there.
Nice.
I leave about 5:30 every morning, and I normally get to work about an hour early every day.
Yeah.
So I'll hit the gym for an hour in the morning before work.
Nice.
And some of us will nip in there like if we've got a little break or lunch hour or whatever, we'll nip in there at lunchtime and do some more. But we've got our own gym. We've got our own gym equipment as well. But because when we was at the last studio, we had our own gym set up. So we all chip in, bought like basically a whole gym's worth of equipment.
Mm-hmm.
We keep it in a container and it just travels from job to job with us.
Nice.
So we're lucky enough at the moment on this one that it's all there at the studios. So we just go, we get free gym membership through the production company.
That's great.
So they pay for it for us.
That's fantastic.
And we've got everything we need there. So
brilliant.
It's amazing.
Brilliant. Yeah. And it's nice to be in the UK because it means that you can be at home with your family.
Yeah, it's
and
nice.
You're sort of commuting.
And
where in the world have you sort of been? And
Italy. When I worked on The Little Mermaid for Disney movie.
Yeah, that's the most recent Little Mermaid.
Yes, the newest one.
Yeah.
We went to Italy, Sardinia.
Nice.
It was supposed to only be there for like about 6 weeks. I think we ended up being there 10 weeks because it was when you wasn't allowed to travel to Italy because of COVID.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's the mayor of Sardinia gave us special permission to go there and film. So we had our own plane that just took us. We didn't mix with other people.
Yeah.
We went there. We ended up having a couple of COVID cases in the crew. So they just made us have a 10-day break in between filming. There, but we wasn't allowed to fly home. Because of COVID.
So you were just for 10 days doing nothing.
We just had 10 days off paid.
Yeah.
Just in Sardinia.
Which sounds lovely, but when you've got a family at home,
I'd rather
family.
At home with family, but not on a normal situation on a film set. We could, like, my family can, if I'm working in Spain for 6 months, they could, every school holiday, they could just come over,
nice,
and enjoy it as well, rather than me just being away from them.
So that's generally how it works. Obviously, COVID stopped that.
COVID stopped it because it would have been amazing for the kids to have been able to enjoy it through the school holidays. Like just come out for 6 weeks of school holidays, they could have been out there. But so it's hard in that sense, but amazing, like, to be able to enjoy that myself.
So when you are away from home, generally it's okay for them to come and visit you.
They're
okay for families.
Like, obviously, you're not bringing them into the film set, of course, stuff like that. You know, you can, but like, you don't really do it.
No.
There'll be the odd like situation where you might be working somewhere on the weekend and it's quite a small set environment. You can say, just come down and meet us in London, and I'll walk you onto the set. Do you know what I mean? I've done that.
How are your kids with it? Are they
They're cool. They're
following dad's path? Or?
I think so I've got 2 stepsons with Katie, and then my son Brody as well. The boy's uncle is a famous actor as well.
Oh, okay.
And so I don't know if they want to go into that side of things. I think Brody would like to go into some sort of like stunts or whatever, but it's I don't know what path they're going to take. I think the boys that, like, especially Matt, my oldest stepson, his dad's a broker in the city.
Yeah.
And his dad starts saying, so I think he'll follow in his dad's footsteps in working in the city.
Yeah.
Like, as boys generally try to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know, but I'll obviously help any of them if they
I'm just
decide they want to follow that path.
Dad on doing stunts in Hollywood movies, and I'm just wondering whether any of them sort of went, actually, I'd like to do that myself.
I think they love it, but they're just at that age at the moment where they don't know what they want to do. Do you know what I mean? It's like when we was at school, you don't really care about thinking about that until you need to. You don't really, you almost don't even think, you just think school's life, don't you? And then you leave and you're like, I do actually need to get a job.
Shit, what am I going to do with my life?
Yeah.
That's the thing. The thing about me, I mean, honestly, most people say that and it's the norm. But the thing about me is that I always knew.
Did you?
I knew from a very, very young age that I wanted to perform. I wanted to dance. I wanted to act. I knew it. And a lot of my friends around me were like, I've got no idea what I'm going to do now. Do I do an apprenticeship? Do I go to uni? Do I do this? No one knew. And I was just...
I was the same because I just thought...
Your sort of 10-year floor laying trade job before you sort of really took on stunt work and it started growing for you and snowballing. Has that sort of passed over to your life now? Do you see some kind of influence in being a tradie, being on the tools, sort of still
massively
involved in your life now?
Massively, massively. Because even on film sets and stuff like that, like when we're rehearsing, we'll just make props and stuff like that for ourselves. Like,
so you really,
or we'll make makeshift sets, and we'll have to mark out. We'll get drawings off of the architects at work, and I can read drawings through building work and stuff like that I've done in the past. So we'll mark out the set design in the floor space of the studio with tape, and then we'll put cardboard boxes, and we'll actually make the footprint of the set out of cardboard boxes. So then we know what space we've got to do fights or stunts to fight. So massively. And then with the property developing side of things as well through my life. So
I don't know how much you want to talk about this, but I know that you've just finished very recently quite a huge project.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about that? Or?
Yeah. I don't mind talking about that.
Tell me about that project.
So I've been in property. I was 21 years old when I bought my first place in Waltham Abbey. Yeah. And I developed, I put a flat there. And then I think by 27, I had 3 properties. And then I had a house around the corner from the flat. It progressed. We had a child, progressed to a house, and then developed the house. Mm-hmm. And then I ended up getting a project with one of my friends in Romford as well. And so I was always... And again, I keep mentioning his name, but Mark had that big stamp on probably me wanting to do that, because seeing how much money he made out of doing property developing on the side of himself doing stunts. Yeah. So I always had that drive to do property developing as well. And I do have a real passion for it. I love it. And that property that you just mentioned, or the project, was where I bought a 2-bedroom cottage in Ongar. And we developed it to, I think it was 4,500 square foot in the end when we finished it. And it ended up 6-bedroom cinema room, like, I think it had every room. It had we built a football pitch in the garden, a 3G football pitch. And it was a challenge.
I was going to say,
a massive challenge.
You were sort of doing that, and did you try to manage as much of
so yourself? I didn't have a builder, like a building company, come in and do
project management.
Yeah, I project managed the whole thing. I was laying bricks at weekends, putting floor joists, getting steels craned in on weekends and stuff like that. I was just basing my whole weekends around the project. Well, my Saturdays, because obviously I had to do stuff with the like mixing being a dad as well into that mix.
Absolutely, being a stunt performer and trying to earn your money, and these jobs come and go as they do in the entertainment industry. It's sort of like contractual, right? Sometimes you're on, sometimes you're off. Plus, you're being a dad, trying to hopefully be social and
and a husband at the same time,
and then this huge build. Which took how many years?
So it's about 7 years in total.
7 years
from when we started it, but obviously COVID had a massive factor in the stressfulness of that project, because everything I was earning, I put all my eggs in one basket in that project. We sold any other things that we had, and it all went into that. And that was a make or break situation, and it really did nearly break me.
So during COVID, those things,
it was COVID. Like, obviously, for people that don't know, during COVID, the film industry was shut down completely. And like all the lucky people that worked in offices and had normal jobs, let's just say, there was no help for anyone in the film industry. So
the entertainment industry
as a whole was shut down, and I was halfway through a house build.
Yeah.
So you can imagine, like,
so there's no furlough, there's no insurance that covers it because it's sort of
it was a new thing, wasn't it? Yeah.
And if you were a performer or anywhere involved in the entertainment industry, your work had basically just stopped and shut down.
Yeah, it would just come to a complete stop. So, and there was no income, from any film industry. And at that point, I'd kind of put all my savings and everything into that project. So it was stressful financing it to finish it. But, we come out the other side of it shining in the end. But it was hard.
It was hard going. Yeah. And we were all in a position where we didn't really know how long it was going to last and what was going on.
That was the problem. There was no end date to it. We were told that I was on Little Mermaid at the time.
Yeah.
And I remember it vividly because we were told on, I think it was March the 13th. And we were funny enough, March the 13th, and we were told that it was what's the date today?
Oh, it's the 8th.
It's the 8th of March today, yeah. But it was March the 13th of that year. And we got sat down by the producers come in saying, we're so sorry, but we're going to have to shut the film down because of COVID outbreak. We're going to have 3 weeks off, and then hopefully it will be sorted in that 3 weeks.
Yeah.
We were told 3 weeks.
Well,
can you believe that?
Yeah.
And then it ended up being probably nearly a year, I think it was in the end.
Yeah.
Almost 12 months before we got back going.
Wow.
And it
caused no money, no income, no work.
No.
Just everything stagnant.
So I had to go back on the tools in that period of time. Got no shame in saying it, but if this is where being a tradie came back in handy again, because I had no income from the film industry. I'm halfway through a house build.
Yeah.
And I had to get finished.
Yeah.
So I just went back on the tools doing building work and general, I was doing floor, anything really. I was doing floor laying. I was working with some of my mates doing gardens and stuff like that. I was doing patios.
It's
everything.
A pretty incredible career, really. I mean, you've had an amazing career as a stunt performer, which is still going, and we're going to talk about what you're doing. That's next for you. But as a tradie, anyone who's got a trade in their back pocket, one or multiple, is something that you can always.
I think it's so important.
It's so incredible.
I think it's so important. No matter what you do in life, to have some form of knowledge of a trade, or because just generally doing stuff at home. But if you've got a trade or knowledge of a trade, then you can go anywhere in the world and use that.
Absolutely.
So I always say to my boys that don't worry so much about what grades you're going to get, because sometimes if you want to be a tradesman and stuff like that, learn a trade and you're good at it, you don't need, not saying you don't need to be good at school, but it's not the be all and end all of everything.
No, some people are academic.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think whether you are or you're not, having a trade, whatever it is always a good thing.
Definitely.
And I do think we should be teaching or showing.
Definitely at school. Yeah. I know.
There's so much focus on getting
100%. It's it's so programmed, isn't it? Into this box where you've got to have the grades to go get a good job. But it's not always the case.
It's not always the case. For something like COVID to happen, those tradespeople were still able to go and work. Yeah. Whether it was on site, whether it was in people's homes.
And they're the only people that were working during that.
They were key workers because they were able to do it.
Key workers, yeah.
What COVID also did was really increase the price of all materials. So as well as no income coming in, the price of your build probably went up 20-30% for some materials.
Exactly, yeah.
So that had a detrimental effect.
Yeah.
But you got through it. The house is finished now.
It's sold.
Yeah. Excellent. No, good for you, mate. No. Honestly, seeing that house come together.
Yeah.
Documented.
It was cool because I kind of, some people probably hated me for it. Some people, like yourself, probably appreciated it.
Massive appreciation.
But some people get jealous. They think you post it. For me, doing all my posts that I do on my Instagram is to kind of just show the journey of stuff I'm doing. It's not to be like, oh, look at me. This is what I've got, or this is what I'm doing.
No,
I stand back, and if I've built something, I'm super proud of it, and I just want to show people like what I've
anyone
done.
that thinks that you're putting stuff out there because you've got an it's not about you.
Yeah,
you've achieved something massive, and we saw that through social media being documented step by step. So we were able to kind of
my close friends, and obviously like people on the outside of it. If you don't know me, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, oh, look, Dan's showing off. He's done this.
But if you don't know you as well, someone's probably going through something very similar, and seeing your posts can help them as well. They're very inspiring. And
sometimes I would do stuff like showing people how to do stuff. I remember doing it's so funny. I just did some fencing slats on a fence at home, and I did literally like a slowed down version of, and then sped up. Like I fit the stages of it all. Yeah. And I think it's got over 3 million hits on TikTok.
See?
Of it. Yeah. Like, do you know what I mean? And it was just me doing a video of just doing some fencing in the garden.
Just doing some fencing. Horizontal fence was beautiful. It's massive as well. It's a huge area. I mean, it was amazing. And look, people should go on and watch what you've done, because you've achieved so much. 7 years of your life.
Yeah.
No mean feat. Really.
No.
So really, again, we can kind of draw back and thank Mark for the property development side as well. I mean, it's amazing how much positive influence in your life. It's
definitely.
What are you doing now? So what as you stand now as a very successful 40-year-old with a family, with a stunt career, do you see yourself continuing to stunt, perform? Yeah. Is there anything in the pipeline that you kind of want to ebb and flow and change?
Yeah, definitely. I'm still performing, and I will perform as long as I actively can, as long as my body allows me to. Do you know what I mean?
Good.
But I do a lot of the rigging side of things now, which I love as well.
Nice.
And we've got such a cool, but we've got such a good team around me at the moment. And every day we're doing new things, and it's just great. I enjoy it so much.
So you see yourself continuing to perform, and rigging, you want to do more rigging?
Yeah. More stunt rigging. Yeah. I think as I'll be getting older, I'll probably fall more into the rigging side of things. I think as it kind of, it's only so many years you could be spanking yourself into falling off motorbikes or, down staircases and falling over. And like everybody, the progression is that you either fall, you've got to be versatile. And if to stay in that industry, you need to be versatile and fall into other things,
Yeah. Do you see yourself coordinating?
I'd love to one day. Yeah. I think I've definitely got
Do you think you've got those skills?
I think I definitely would love to progress into that, but I think I'm probably about 10 years off of getting into that.
That's good. That's realistic.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we're less at this age like rubber bands, where we're like,
exactly.
Floor, so it does take its time. So rigging is a nice segue into that.
In
10 years time,
yeah,
see what comes in.
I'd say to people like, I don't know, maybe just don't ever give up on your dreams. Like if you want to try something completely different to what you're doing, just go for it.
I love that. I love that you were hardworking and dedicated and decided to train and upskill yourself in your spare time, knowing that you had to earn money, and you were doing that in your spare time. And gradually this passion of stunts and sort of throwing yourself around became a career for you. So it's really nice to hear that it worked for you. And it's nice for anyone out there, whether you're on the tools or whether you're in another job that's not really fulfilling you. If you've got something else. Yeah.
Oh, I'm bored of this. I want to go do something else, or I want to be a cab driver or something like that.
Yeah.
Again, like even back cab drivers, you have to set your own time to the side with the knowledge.
Absolutely.
If you've got goals in life, just go for it.
Go for it. Life's too short.
You've got, one life. Just live it.
I love that. We'll leave it there. Thank you so much for joining me. You're an absolute inspiration. It's been so nice to see you succeed in what you're doing, and I'm really excited to see what's next for you as well. So cheers, mate. You've got one life, just live it. Love that, Daniel Dow.
When the world can feel so complex and so chaotic at times, it's really important to hear those messages. You just never know what's around the corner, so we just need to make the most of each moment. And Daniel is a true example of that. He's a go-getter, my old pal from Chinkford from way back when, and I couldn't be prouder of what he's achieved. It was so nice to catch up with Daniel, and the thing that has come up in other episodes, and was so prominent in this one, was that we are only as good as the people around us. Mark Mottram moved in next door to Daniel when we were kids, and let's face it, Mark changed Daniel's life for the better. He was a positive role model, a generous mentor, and a guide through life, and he gave Daniel his first opportunities to succeed in his career as a stunt performer. Now, that's not to take away any of Daniel's hard work and years of dedication to his craft. He has had to work hard and strive to better himself. Yes, Mark did lay the pathway, but Daniel had to walk it, and he had to stay on track. I just want to give a big shout out to Mark, who I have my own great memories of growing up, and it was just really nice to hear Daniel pay so much respect and gratitude to Mark. And he also said he was working with an incredible team right now. I'm going to say it again, guys. You are only as good as the people around you. Surround yourself with the right people and you can achieve anything. One thing that I need to reflect on here is a lifetime value of being a tradesperson. Big up to all the tradies out there. I'm not a tradie myself. I come from a family of tradies. Lots of my friends are tradies. Learning a trade at any stage of life is invaluable, and it served Daniel throughout his life and still does to this day. He can and has fallen back on his trade. The skills are transferable in other areas of his life, and he's built on that knowledge through his property development ventures. Daniel spends most of his days on Hollywood movie sets with the likes of Bruce Willis, Tom Cruise, Benedict Cumberbatch, Pierce Brosnan, to name but a few. But at the end of the day, he knows he can always fall back on his trade. I can't wait to see what projects Daniel's on next. And if you're interested in his ventures, the links to his socials are in the show notes. If you liked this episode, don't forget to hit the subscribe or follow button. If you haven't already, you can follow us on all of our socials at U2BDC to keep up with all the latest news. And also, why not recommend us to a friend? In a world where there are thousands of podcasts, a personal recommendation or suggestion can go a long way. I know I love it when my friends suggest a podcast to listen to. That means they listened and they thought, Dean would like this. If you loved this, think of a friend and spread the word. I'll see you very soon on another episode. Until then, stay safe, stay fabulous, keep striving. Much love.